Hey, it's me, James, and this video is for all the Gypsy Witch fortune-telling playing card peeps out there. I'm going to give you a sneak peek of my latest deck creation, which I call the Gypsy Witch Oracle. So stay tuned. Thanks so much for tuning in and joining me for this very special video. If this is your first time here, I'd like to say welcome. And if you're a returning viewer and visitor, I'd like to say welcome back. Well, as I said in the opening, this is for those of you who love and appreciate and work with the Gypsy Witch fortune-telling playing cards, which I got into around 2017. So long story short, when I started this channel, I focused on tarot because that was my claim to fame. And what I mean by that, it's not that I'm famous, but it was just something that I was well known for working with. And then in about 2015, I started working with Lenormand. And then a couple of years later in 2017, one of my viewers named Captain Nolan asked me if I would be willing to work with the Gypsy Witch fortune-telling playing cards in future videos. And so I hadn't had the system, I hadn't had the deck. So I made the investment because it's a minimal investment, right? Those of us who have it know it's like under 10 bucks. So I thought to myself, well, I'll go ahead and buy the deck, and if I just don't like it, then, not a huge amount has gone into in terms of investment, which means that there won't be a huge loss, right? But it turns out that I really, really like the system. And so I've been kind of presenting my thoughts and experiences in video format on this channel. And a lot of you really turned out for those videos. A lot of you appreciated my thoughts and experiences with the Gypsy Witch cards. And some of you over the years have asked me to post more content with that particular system. So for me, there have been moments when I feel like the aesthetic isn't really all that great. And so I found a deck, which I did use in my Oracle Outlook video series, called the Vintage Gypsy Witch cards. They are by Lynn Boyle, and I will leave a link to Lynn's deck in the description box below. She has an Etsy shop, and you could take a look at it there. But for a time, I had thought that if I were to make a deck of Gypsy Witch cards myself, because, over the last few years, I've been making lots of my own decks of cards to work with. I thought if I was to make one of my own, Lynn's deck actually was quite close to it. But what happened was I recently had a wonderful cartomancy coaching session with one of my clients. Her name is Desi. So Desi, if you happen to be watching this, hello. You are my chief inspiration for this. So had a wonderful conversation with Desi, and she said that she would like to see more Gypsy Witch content on my channel. And then it got me to thinking like, ooh, this might be just what I need, the kind of inspiration and motivation to make my own deck. And so I did that. So I'm excited to show you my sample copy, which I just got in the mail today. I haven't even opened it up yet. We're going to do it together, of my Gypsy Witch Oracle. That is what I'm calling it. My particular deck has 55 cards, and in a lot of ways it honors what the traditional Gypsy Witch fortune-telling playing cards are to me. And a lot of ways I've gone outside the tradition. I maybe broken the tradition in a way, in some ways, and that's because of the ways that I work with the system. So I wanted it to be a deck that honors the tradition and kind of reflects how I work with the cards specifically. Okay, so now with the setup, so this is the box of the original, because I'm going to refer to this at some point in the video. So here we have the original box, and I say box because mine is a two-piece hard box that was printed well before the tuck box that we are all accustomed with who work with Gypsy Witch cards. Okay, so because mine is a sample copy, I just ordered it from Make Playing Cards. So that is the publishing company that I work with for all my decks, and they do phenomenal work. I just am so over the moon with the way they have worked on my decks over the years, and so much so that I have an online shop within their marketplace. That's how much I love working with MPC. So that's why I call them MPC. So what I've discovered over the years is that when it comes to my offerings to the public, and I'm intending on making this an offering for other people, right? I love it, but I want other people who might feel inspired to work with it to be able to have access to it. But what I discovered as a deck creator is that it's one thing to make the cards, and you're choosing the cardstock and all of that. It's another thing with the packaging, and the packaging drives up the cost, I have found, as an independent deck creator. So for me, I went with just a standard plain white tuck box for my copy. I may think about doing something custom, but that would drive the cost up. And one of the comments I have gotten over the years with my own decks is the price point. You know, and here's the thing about the price point. I'm just going to be totally honest and transparent. Everything that you do when it comes to creating drives the price up, right? So if you want a nice box, it drives the price up. If you want a custom box, it drives the price up, which means that, you know, you have a box that has decorative information on the outside. It drives the price up. Everything drives the price up, and I wanted to make this as economical and affordable for those who would like to have it. So I'm thinking of maybe just keeping it in a standard white tuck box, because when I have ordered decks from other creators who use companies like Printer Studio, make playing cards, there's one more that escapes my mind in the moment, but print on demand services, it's usually, I have gotten my boxes, they're like plain white tuck boxes, so I'm okay with that. What I did for myself was, because I wanted to have something in addition to keep it in, I also ordered a plastic casing. And with Make Playing Cards, you can just order one of these, and they're relatively, I think this cost me like $1, maybe $1.20. You know, so something like that to keep the cards in. Alright, so now, okay, so here's the deck in the box. I haven't even, all I've done is taken the plastic off the box. So now, tuck box, okay, so opening it up. Alright, so like I said, there's 55 cards in here. So the first thing I want to do is show you the title card. So here we have the title card. I'm going to hold it up. So it'll say Gypsy Witch Cards, a 55 card deck by yours truly, James Himm Mitchell. And there's my little copyright at the bottom. So now this image that you're looking at is a cauldron because, and I have my Gypsy Witch cards here. So if you notice, these are the card backs, yeah? So this image actually is the card back. So I'm going to turn it over so you can see the back of the card. So what I did for the card backs is I wanted to honor the tradition by having a cauldron on there, and I love the cauldron image that I selected or chosen for that. But I also wanted to break the stereotype here, because in the original, you see the figure of the witch, and the witch is a woman. So I wanted to break the idea or the stereotype that all witches are female. So I went with something more gender neutral, just by having the cauldron be the focus, but these are the card backs, okay? So that's the first thing I want to point out. Now, I also want to point out the size of the cards. So now the cards are playing card size. So I'm going to hold up the original. This is the first card in the deck. This is the Sun card. So the original is playing card size. My deck is also playing card size. It's on linen cardstock. Right, so now that I'm holding up the first card, so now I'm going to, and at this point I'm just going to show everything that is just featuring my deck. So I'm holding up the first two cards so you can see a comparison here. So what I did with my deck is that I found it very interesting that if you read the descriptions, that's the first thing you'll notice on my deck, is that I removed all the text other than the title of the card, because I never work with the descriptions, right? So if you are a traditionalist to Gypsy Witch, meaning like you love working with the captions, that will be one thing that my deck does not have, because when I work with the cards, I work with them more like Lenormand from the East, right? The Eastern Lenormand. In that I focus on the symbol and what meanings that I have for the symbol. So a lot of these cards, at least 36 of the cards, will have some carryover from my work with Lenormand. Okay, the other thing that you may notice is that even with the captions, the playing card is prominent. In my deck, it is secondary to the symbol, and that's because when you're working with the Gypsy Witch cards, the traditional, and you go by the text, there's no mention of the playing card insert. This is known as the Sun. It's not known as the Three of Hearts, right? So I went with the symbol being the primary feature of the card, and then the playing card insert as the secondary. So that's just an example of the comparison contrast between the two systems. And at this point, I'm going to go ahead and take this one down. And I'm going to show you the cards in the order that they are numbered. So you'll see in my deck, I have the number, the name of the card, and then the playing card insert either at the bottom or the top depending on the image. So here we have card number 1 is the Sun. Card number 2, the Moon. Card number 3 is House. Card 4 is Key. Card 5 is Tree. Card 6 is Coffin. So funny story is that this was the last card I worked on with the deck. And I find it interesting because Coffin represents the ending of something, the completion of something. This was actually the very last card in the creation process because I had such a challenging time finding the right and perfect image of a coffin. And I'm so glad I waited because I was like a couple of cards into the end and then I said, no, I'll make this the last one. And I put it to the end and I'm so glad I did because this image found its way to me and I'm so happy because I like it a lot. So that's Coffin. Card 7 is Bouquet. I love the image. Card 8 is Sickle. I call it Sickle, but it's also known as the Scythe. And here, this is a little reading tip that I carry over from Lenormand. So I go with the idea about which way the blade is pointing. So it's pointing to the whatever card would be on this side. That is what's getting cut, right? Because one of its meanings is like a cut, break, sever, disconnection. So it's a directional cue to this, to the card that would be in this space. But that is Sickle. Card 9 is the Birds. And so I went with 2 parrots on the card. And here's another thing that I didn't point out. So you may notice at this point, some of the title fonts are in black and some are in red. They are in alignment with the color of the card in the playing card insert. So this is a red card. This is the Ace of Diamonds. So that's the reason for the red font. If it was a black card, either a club or a spade, the title would be in black. And this is why, because I noticed this when I was doing my creation process, and I'm holding the Sun card up from the original, and I'm going to see if I can find, here we go. So here we have the Sun, right? You notice 3 of Hearts is a red card, right? And then the font is red on the card. I never noticed that before, or really paid attention to it before, I should say. And then here we have the Key card with the 4 of Clubs, and if you notice, because it's a black emblem, the text is in black. I didn't notice that before. So once I noticed that, I'm like, oh, I want to add that feature to my deck. Okay, so now we are at card 10. So this is the Pig. Card 11 is the Fox. And some of these I posted on my community tab page as my daily divination. So this is one of the cards that I've already posted and shared. That's the Fox. This is Children. So in the original, there's 2 children on the card. I wanted a group of children to highlight the plurality of the card. And I love this image of children. Next up we have Snake. So this is my depiction for the snake. I love this snake card. Right? You get a sense of with the wrapping around, about the idea about something being entangled, yeah, something being coiled, yeah, I love it. I will confess I do love all the images, so when I say I love it, you can just go with the understanding that I love every image. This is the Rider. Card 15 is Letter. Card 16 is ship. Card 17 is fish. I love this image. I also posted this one on social media. Now for the people cards, here's the lady card, and I love this image. So here we have, I wanted to honor the tradition around the time that the deck was published. So here we have the image of a flapper lady. And also keeping the directional cue in mind, so she's looking this way, as in the traditional. So cards that are in front of her, line of sight, and cards behind her would be the past behind her. But yeah, but I love the image. Card 19 here we have is gentleman. So again, same thing. He's facing the opposite way. So line of sight would be this way. Cards behind him would be the past this way. And the potential for the man and the woman to be looking at each other in a reading, if you're doing about a relationship reading. And I was just so happy to find an image of a man with a top hat, because I wanted to stick with the top hat that's in the traditional deck. You know, it's not on his head in the image, but it's seated on like a table next to him in the image. So I wanted to honor that. But that is the gentleman. Next up we have lilies. This is card 20. Card 21 is stork. Card 22 is book. Now I will say this is one of my special cards for me. The book is a card that talks about decks of cards, you know, how we read cards. So this card is a pun for a card reader. And then the Jack of Hearts, the insert, is a special card to me. So for me, this card can sometimes be like almost like a personal significator. So, and I will share, I ordered 2 different editions. So the second edition, which just came in the mail today, is the one I'm showing in the video. But I've had another copy for a few days now, and I've been working with that. And so this card showed up today, and the funny thing about it is I had 3 readings on my agenda today. So I love the fact that in the image there's 3 books that are stacked up. So I had a stack of readings to get to. But yeah, so this is book. Next up we have ring. This is card 23. I like the image. This is card 24. This is hand in hand. And I'm just stopping to look because as I'm looking at the cards, I just love the linen texture on the cards. Yeah, you can see that. Maybe you could see it in the camera. But I love it because I can clearly see it when I'm looking at the cards. But this is hand in hand. Next up we have clouds. And I love this depiction. If you're familiar with Lenormand, the system really stresses the importance of having a light side of clouds and a dark side. So I love this image. Card 26 is park. Card 27 is dog. And in this image I went with Welsh Corgi because I have been raised with dogs, meaning like I've always had dogs throughout my childhood. And then as an adult, and when I moved from New Jersey to South Carolina, where I'm at now, I decided that I no longer wanted dogs because they're like having children, and I swore I was never having kids. It's probably a little too much information, but the point of it is that if I were to ever get a dog again, I would want a Welsh Corgi. So that is a personal nod for me. So I love the dog on the dog card. Oh, I just love the texture on these cards. This is so much fun. So here we have anchor. It's the next card, and I love the image of the anchor. This took a little bit of time to find too, so it was well worth it. Some of the images were easy to find right off, and I didn't have any problems, and some were a little more challenging. And needed to be, like, I needed to spend some time searching. So here we have the mouse card in the traditional Kipper, I said Kipper, Gypsy witch cards, this is known as mouse, not mice, like in Lenormand. So I wanted to honor that. So there's an image of a single mouse. Next up we have whip. And it took me a while to find a whip that I really, really liked. And I went with a black background for the idea that whip can represent anger. You know, and the fact that it's a quote-unquote negative card because it's challenging meanings, yeah. And plus it makes the whip itself pop. So that is the whip card. Next up we have crossroads. Then we have mountain. I really love how this card turned out. We have clover. This was actually the first card. This next card is star. This was the very first card I made. I was just so happy how it came out. And I love it if you understand that the star represents inspiration and aspiration. Then it would make sense that this was the first card. But that is star. Next up, I really like this image. So here we have the tower card. I really like that image. Then we have the cat card. So now, when it came to the cat card, I wanted to have a black cat because I wanted to honor the witch part of the Gypsy Witch cards. Right, and there's an image of a cat on the back of the card. Hold the traditional one up again. So there's the cat next to the witch on the card, and so because I didn't have that on the backs of the cards, I wanted the cat to be black on the front. Again, with the idea that we're talking about the witch, and the cat is known as the witch's familiar. And also, too, on a personal note, the black cat reminds me of the cat that I used to house and cat sit for Beatty, who has since made her transition. So for me personally, this is a way of like honoring Beatty. Every time I pull this card, I think of Beatty. So that's a cat card. Next up is the rapiers. So in the traditional deck, this is the cross swords card, so they have the two rapiers cross on the image. And I wanted to show the dueling aspect of it. So I included two fencers. And this card really changed what I was doing with the playing card inserts because I did have a challenge finding the right ace of spades that I felt would fit the deck. And then once I found this particular one, it changed the cards that came before because I had to redo all the playing card inserts because I had one particular playing card deck in terms of PNG files in my computer, so I was using those, and then I had to switch to this, but I'm so glad I did because I love how it turned out. But this particular card was a game changer in the deck creation process. So that's rapiers. Next up is flames. This is known as flames on the hearth. I just went with the flames, the word flames. And the image is of flames in a fireplace. And I love how it looks. It just came out so well. So that's flames. Next up we have the heart card. So I wanted the anatomical heart. So I went with that. Card 40 is the wine card. Card 41, I love how vibrant this card looks to me. This is the rose card. This is Amour. And I love this. I love the image of the angel. This one I posted not too long ago. This is recent. This is Lightning. I believe I'm filming this on a Wednesday. It's November the 8th, so I believe I posted this the day before, which was the 7th. And this is Broken Glass. I hope this comes across on camera. Yes. So this is the card that in the traditional deck is a picture of a mirror on a vanity table or a dresser that is broken. I wanted to go with that, but I wanted the glass to be black, and I just love how this looks. But that is broken glass. For me, its chief meaning is representing like something being shattered. Like the image that we have of ourselves or people, other people, is being shattered in some way. You know, it goes with that expression like, oh, now my image of you has been shattered, right? And I also think, because those of you who have watched my reading videos know that sometimes I hear pieces of music in my head with certain cards, is I always hear Shattered Dreams by Johnny Hates Jazz when I pull this card. So that's Broken Glass. Next up is the Order. So there's a little bit of a story about this. So in the traditional image, the Order is a card that represents honor and recognition because it's a symbol of a medal. But if you wanted to extract the 36 cards from the Gypsy Witch cards and work with them in the way that you probably would work with a straight up Lenormand deck, or a Lenormand deck that you're more familiar with, yeah? Then this card would be the cross card. And so I wanted to honor that. And by having a medal that looks like it could also be a cross. So if I wanted to separate all those cards out, I could. I won't, but if I felt like I wanted to. So for me, this card also represents honor recognition, but I can also read it like the cross in the Lenormand decks that I used to work with prior to. Card 46 is Railroad. I love that image because it represents a long journey. You could just see by the way the tracks kind of just go off into the background here. Next up we have the Bride card. I loved how this came out. I was concerned that the card bleeding process might cut off her face, and so again, one of the reasons why I work with MPC and continue to do so is that they do a phenomenal job. I was concerned, but I'm so happy with how it turned out. Next up we have the Money Save card. You know, and I wanted to honor the traditional text on the card that talks about the side being open versus the side being shut. And then we have, this was the second card I actually worked on. So the star was the first card, then the eye was next. I love how that looks. Then we have card 50 is Bear. Card 51 is Lion. Card 52, this would be the last of the 52 cards, is Shepherd. So then I said I have a Joker card. So this is the Joker card. And I love the image. So what I did was I found the image of the Joker and then I superimposed it over this background of all the pips. And then this is the only card in the deck that has a white font. It's not black, it's not red, it's white. Kind of going with the idea that this is a significant card. This is a card that's outside of the 52 cards, so it carries a little more weight when it shows up. And with the way the figure is dressed, so this could be like a jester or the Fool from Tarot. Remember Tarot being my claim to fame, right? The very first system I picked up and started reading with. So this is a nod to that card. Now, the two remaining cards, because that's 53. The two remaining cards are extra people cards, right? I wanted to go with another gentleman and another lady because those of you who know how I work with cards, I am a big fan of extra man and woman cards because I do same-sex readings every now and again, right? So here we have card 18 is the gentleman, right? Now, if you remember in the traditional Gypsy Witch cards, card 18 is actually the lady, right? So if I wanted to do a same-sex reading with card 19, the gentleman, then the partner card would be card 18. So that is the reason for the differing numbers. And I love him. I love how he looks. And I love the fact that he's sitting there drinking tea. So that is card 18, the extra card, the variant card. And then conversely, card 19 is a variant lady card, right? Going with the idea that card 18 is the lady card. And so if I was doing a same-sex reading, then this would be the partner card, which is why it's card 19. And the thing about the variants is that you could also work with these if you didn't like the first images, and the numbering would still work, right? This would be card 18, card 19, and they are facing each other, right? Which means that they have the potential to face each other in a relationship context if you were doing a heteronormative type reading, right? So I love these extra cards. So that was the reason for the second edition. The first one, when I made it for myself, I only had 53 cards. And then after I made it and I was awaiting my copy to come, I'm like, I could add 2 extra cards just like I do in all my other cards. And then I could have variants for the man and the woman cards. Okay, so that is the Gypsy Witch Oracle. I'm going to hold the title card up. Right now, I am over the moon with how it looks because, like I said, I just opened it in front of you all. I literally just got it in the mail, so I'm so happy with Make Playing Cards. MPC, they did another fantastic job for me. So here's what I'm going to do going forward. I don't see, because the opportunity here is to look through the cards and see if there's anything I need to change or fix. I don't see anything in the moment that I need to change or edit or fix. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to get the ball rolling on getting this up in the marketplace. And if you are interested, just stay tuned for my community tab. I will post something in the community tab on my YouTube channel page, letting you know more about that process. I'm intending on including, for quick reference, a PDF sheet that has the meanings on it, and as well as I'm thinking about the idea of writing either a guidebook or a larger book to go with this. A lot of people have circled back every now and again asking me, like, when are you going to write a book about the way that you read cards? And I used to think, like, oh, I'm not that unique and special about how I read cards, but apparently for some people, they really enjoy my process and really want to, I guess, get a deeper dive into that and how I go about it. But I've had a number of people over the years to ask me to write a book, and I'm feeling like I'm so excited about this particular deck that I think it would... a book could work with it, just because it is a system that there's not a lot of literature on, meaning like there's not a lot of people who have written about it. There's only one book actually I can think of on the Gypsy Witch cards, and if you want to see what that particular book is, let me know in the comments and I'll be more than happy to do a separate video on it. But that's the only book that I know, so I kind of feel like the field or the lane is kind of open, and so this would be an opportunity for me to kind of maybe kind of walk the lane and see where it takes me. So anyway, that is for a future time, but if you're interested in that, again, please stay connected to my community tab. That would probably be the most likely place I would post any kind of updates with the deck. So again, thank you for spending the time with me in this special video unboxing my latest Oracle card deck creation, the Gypsy Witch Oracle. As I said several times throughout this video, I am so pleased with how it turned out. And if you want to just kind of keep an eye on this space, I may be doing readings. Not maybe, I probably will be doing readings with this deck going forward. So if you found it interesting or you want to know more about my take with Gypsy Witch cards, meaning like how I go about reading them, then stay tuned for this space for future videos on that. Okay, with that said, I'm signing off. James and Mitchell here. Thank you again for your time, and I look forward to seeing you in a future video. So until then, be well and take care.